What's on at your gallery?
It's Kids Arts Day, every day. Here's what we're doing in today's fun episode. Before we begin, grab your corresponding art kit, available from the Niagara Falls Art Gallery, or grab the following supplies from home so you can follow along. Today, you'll need a small cup to hold a little water for your fingers, something to cut and mark your clay with, such as a wooden skewer, and some modeling material. This could be modeling clay, salt dough, or another type of sculpting material that can air dry. We recommend using something that can be painted so you can really give it those extra special finishing touches. And now, let's begin.
Alright guys, let's get started on this wicked awesome clay project. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to divide this into a little bit of sections so it's a little easier for us to work with it. Now I need you to grab that stick, find that nice pointy side of the stick and hold it like a pencil. First thing I'm going to ask you to do is to actually measure the width of your finger on the end of the piece here, on one of the sides. You can see that we've placed our piece so that we've got the long sides at the top and the bottom and the short sides on the side. So I'm going to be placing that finger there and I'm going to be drawing a vertical line right beside it. Not too hard, here we go. Perfect, nice vertical line. All right, I'm gonna ask you actually to do this one more time with me, guys. So again, another finger right beside that line we just drew, and another nice straight line. Perfect, we've got two lines, that's it. We're gonna stop there, and we're gonna add now some horizontal lines. We only need to do two. We're gonna be actually dividing this into 6 little sections. All right, so we've got one line that we're gonna be doing up here, and a little bit lower, another horizontal line. So count them out with me real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fantastic, guys. Good work, everybody. Now what we got to do next is we've got to separate these pieces that we've divided. So what you're going to do is grab your stick again, nice and close to that pointy side, nice and firmly. We don't want to do it in one quick cut, but in several sort of small cuts. So you're just going to trace and retrace that line until it's nice and easy to wiggle off that piece. We're going to repeat this process for all the other lines to separate them all apart. Alright guys, now you can see that I've got my 6 pieces all cut out and stacked up just above my main piece here, so they're out of my way. I've put my stick back at the top of my paper and I'm ready to work with that number one, that nice big piece, the body of our chicken, that silly chicken that we're going to be building. So if you want to grab that nice big piece, the first thing we're going to be doing is crushing it up, which is my absolute favorite part of the class, and then rolling it up into a ball. Here we go. Alright. Crushing it up, using those big muscles of yours. Here we are. Once you've got it nice and crushed up into a ball-like shape, you're going to start rolling it between the palms of your hands, making it nice and round. After you've rolled it with your hands a little bit, you can get down to that newspaper or that paper that we've created at the bottom here and start rolling it into a nice ball. We want to create a nice sphere shape to start off with. Guys, don't worry if it's not a perfect ball. We're going to be changing the shape real soon, just as long as it's sort of roundish. Now, when we're working with clay, the more and more we touch it, we do want to add just a little tiny bit of water to be able to smooth out some of those lines or cracks within our clay, and so that our clay doesn't dry up too quickly while we're working with it. So from your bowl of water, I need you to grab a finger, grab a little bit of water, give it a little tap tap at the top of your sphere, all right, and then smooth it into your ball. And make sure that you spread it as far as it'll go. You'll notice the clay will change color just a tiny little bit, and you'll know when you've smoothed it all in, it won't be shiny anymore. Now because it's such a huge sphere, we're going to grab another drip of water and smooth out the back of the sphere, getting rid of any little lines, holes, or dents. Now the way you do that is you glide your finger back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and close up those little holes. Yeah, keep on smoothing it out until it looks dull again. Alright guys, here we are. That's it. Getting rid of all those little cracks, making it nice and smooth. Once you've smoothed out all the little cracks and the little lines and holes and dents, give it one last quick little roll to make it nice and round again before we move on to the next step. Alright, fantastic. We've got to sort of make this into a little bit of an egg-shaped body for our silly chicken that we're making. The way we're going to be doing that is we're going to focus on kind of rolling it just sort of gently on one side a little bit more than the other. So I'm going to push down one side just a little bit more than the other. Right, it's looking a little bit like this now, as you can tell. Now my top is really flat. I'd like it to become a little bit round again. So by cupping the top of my hand, I'm just going to sort of shape out and make that top nice and round again. Now if you find yours getting kind of rough or you find it drying out a little bit, you can always add a nice little drip of water to smooth out that top. Fantastic. We're getting a real nice egg shape now. The last and final thing I want to do for my egg shape is for the bottom, just so it doesn't fall over, I'd like to make it just a little bit flat. So I'm just going to give it a little tap tap on my desk to make it nice and flat at the bottom, all right, and round and egg shape towards the top. We're going to be working now towards creating some of those features on that silly sort of chicken that we're making. The first one is going to be the most important. It's going to be the beak for our bird. So choose out one of your pieces from the top. They're about the same size. I'm going to grab this one up here. All right, first thing I want to do is I'm going to shape it out into a nice sphere. So again, that favorite part of mine, we're going to be crushing it up and rolling it up into a nice ball. You can use your hands or you can use the desk. Please don't forget to add that little drop of water. Remember, the more we work with it, the more it dries up. So here we go, a little bit of water, smooth it all out. Make sure you get rid of all the cracks, lines, holes, and dents. Fantastic, nice little roll. Okay, we've got ourselves a nice little sphere. If yours isn't perfect, please don't stress. We're going to be changing the shape really soon. So we've got this little sphere. Now we've got to turn it into a cone shape. So again, it's sort of like that egg shape we created for the body. Now remember, this chicken's kind of silly. So if it's not absolutely perfect, it really doesn't matter. It might make it a little bit sillier. So here we are. We're going to roll out the one side, much like we did for the body. So we're going to roll it out. There we go. We're going to thinner side and a thicker side. And then we can grab our fingers and sort of pinch out that top. Make sure you don't make it too skinny or too pointy. Clay doesn't really work well when it's really skinny. It tends to fall apart when it dries. So make sure you keep it nice and thick. Here's that nice shape that we've got now. That looks like a pretty funky, silly beak. The last and final thing I want to do before I start the attachment is I want to make that back side a little bit flat so I can attach it right onto the face of my chicken. So again, grab that piece, give it a little tap tap on your desk. We've got a flat side now and a pointy side. It's going to be fitting really nicely on our bird, just like that. Fantastic. So let's get on to the attaching process, the most important process we're going to be following 5 more times today. All right, guys, as you can see, this nice little cone shape is going to be fitting on the front of our bird to create a really nice, cute little face, kind of silly little face for our chicken. All right, for the attachment process, you want to flip this piece around, that beak piece around, so you're looking at that flat side at the back of our cone. Want to pick up that stick and hold it like a nice pencil again. We need to create now a really rough and bumpy texture. In art, we call this scoring. We create all sorts of little lines and going in all sorts of different directions to create a really rough, bumpy surface. We're going to be attaching these 2 pieces of clay together. Now, make sure to do this really well or your project will fall apart. So take the time to do it properly. Here we are. Let's get started. We're making lines. We're going to start with some nice horizontal lines. Remember, not too light, not too hard. You want to do it just right. Then you want to do some vertical lines, up and down lines. Here we are. Perfect. And then we want to do some diagonal lines, going one way, going the other way. It's a really nice bumpy surface, as you can tell here. You can see some pieces sticking off. It's really important you don't wipe those pieces off or it may not attach properly. So leave that nice and bumpy stuff on there. Now for these attachments, we have to do it twice. We can't just do it to one piece, we have to do it to both. So on the face of our chicken, we're going to find the middle of the side here. I'm going to estimate about the size of my beak. It's going to be a nice circle. It's going to look like this. Don't put it too high on the head or we won't have enough room for those eyeballs later on. So there's my circle I'm going to be doing. And inside that circle, I'm going to be working on that Velcro again. So all those lines going in all different directions, creating that rough, bumpy surface. There we are. Fantastic. That looks great. All right, so we've got 2 rough, bumpy surfaces, the beak and the body. Now the last thing we have to do before bringing them together is we've got to create sort of a little bit of a stickiness, a bit of a glue type thing to keep them together. We're going to be using water for this, but not too much. We really don't want to erase all that hard work we just did. So I'm going to grab my finger, get a little bit of water on it, and really gently I'm going to do a little tap, tap, letting the water sort of sink inside the cracks that are already there. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the beak, grabbing it, getting a little bit of water, and doing a soft, gentle tap, tap, and there we are. Now the fun part that you've been waiting for. Bring that beak and that face, here we go, and give it a little bit of a push and a jiggle so it stays forever and ever. If you notice it's really loose, you may want to redo your lines, but it should be pretty strong together once you've pushed it. Oh, there we go. That's looking good. All right, there we go. There's my silly chicken's beak, ready to go. All right, guys, great job on that beak. As you can see, I smoothed it out just a little bit with some water around so it doesn't look like sort of it had a big gap in between. The beak's looking really good now. The next step I want to do is those really funky, fun eyeballs. So again, we're going to be grabbing a piece of clay. All right, we're going to be doing this twice. So the first time here, I'm going to use my first piece of clay. I'm going to roll it up into a nice ball again. I can use the table or my hands, whatever's convenient. Don't forget that drop of water and smooth it out. Fantastic. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a silly chicken. All right, so once you've got a nice sphere shape, what you want to do is you want to give it sort of a mini squish. All right, we don't want it to keep that 3D shape. We want to kind of more of a 2D shape for this right now. So with the palm of your hand, you want to give it just a little sort of mini squish. All right, perfect. And it's going to look a little bit like this. There we are. A nice little eyeball for our chicken. We're going to be repeating this same process again with another piece. Now, if your eye ends up being a little bit bigger than the first one, it really doesn't matter. This is a silly chicken, and it's totally okay if it looks a little weird. And guys, don't forget, you can pause this video anytime you want if you need to catch up or work a little bit harder on something. Alright guys, as you can see, I've finished up that second eyeball. I made mine a little bit of a different size. If you want to make them the same size, that's totally okay. But like I said, mine's going to be a little on the silly side. Now, as you remember, when we attached the beak, we had a really special process we had to follow. You're going to have to do that exact same process again to attach the eyeballs just above the beak. Try to make sure that the eyes are going to be just touching the beak. You may have to shape them around that beak just a little bit to keep it nice and tight and close together. Oh, there we go. That's what mine are going to look like, but again, I have to do that special process to make sure that they're done properly. I'm going to be getting my stick ready, turning my piece around, and getting ready to do all those scratch lines. Alright guys, I've got that all sort of scratched and attached on there. I've made sure to do all my little Velcro lines, all my little scoring. Now you notice I've got a little bit of fuzzies on the side here, so I'm going to grab just a little bit of water and smooth everything out. Make sure I don't have any lines showing any longer. Fantastic. All right, my bird's starting to come together now. We've got the beak, the two eyeballs. The next part we're going to be working on are the wings that are going to be on either side of my bird. All right, now you've got those same three pieces up at the top. I'm going to start with one of them. Same process again. I'm going to crush it up, roll it up. Remember again, you can press pause at any time if ever you need a break or if you need to catch up on something. Add that little drip of water and smooth it out. Now this part here is going to be a little bit trickier than the eyes. We want to make them just a tad longer and we're going to shape them out just a little bit. So the first thing to make them longer is we're going to be rolling them back and forth just a little bit on the table. So grab the palm of your hand, be nice and gentle, roll it 2 or 3 times just to make it a little bit longer. You'll notice we're starting to make sort of a bit of a cylinder shape. In order to not make it flat on the ends, we're just going to take a little bit of water and smooth out those 2 ends to make them round again. Perfect. Once you've got a nice round sort of 3D oval shape, you're going to have to do that same sort of squishing technique that we did with the eyeballs earlier on. So grabbing the palm of your hand again, you're going to give it a little mini squish and then shape out the wing any way you would want it. I want mine to be just a little bit skinnier at the front than at the back. So I'm just going to give it a little tiny bit of a pinch with my finger and my thumb. There we go, fantastic. And I'm going to add just a little touch of a detail. Using the side of my stick, I'm just going to push it into the nice wide side, not once, but twice. There we go. That's looking like some pretty cool feathers. Can everybody see that on the wing? Fantastic. Now, like I said before, we've got to attach these onto the sides of our bird. All right, so using that same line technique, we're going to be attaching both wings on either side of the bird. So grab that wing, turn it around, grab your stick, and start with those lines. All right, guys, great work putting those wings on. They're looking pretty cool. So we've got one on one side, one on the other side. We did that nice scratching technique to make sure that they don't fall off when they dry. And finally, that last thing we've got to do for this silly bird is create the comb on the top. Now, something's going to happen from the comb at the top. We need to rip off 2 tiny little small pieces. We're going to be using these just to quickly add 2 pupils inside the eyes we already did. Now, these are going to be about the size of a piece of corn, a kernel of corn. So I'm going to grab one, put it on the side, and grab 2. and put it on the side. I'm going to work on those a little bit later, but for right now I need to create that comb, that sort of red part that sits on the top of a chicken. All right, with that piece that's left over, I'm going to crush it up and roll it up. Here we go. Make sure to grab that drop of water, smooth it out. Nice round ball, and here's what we're going to do. Once you've got that ball made, make sure to put it down on the table, all right, and use that palm of your hand, give it another little squish. Now what we need to do, we can't just throw it on like this. We need a little bit of a flat area to put it, attach it on the top of the head. So can you grab your little sort of cookie shaped thing and give it a little double tap tap at the bottom. Now one side of the bottom's flat, the other is round. It's nice and ready to go. The only thing we have to do is add the details, much like we did on the wings when we push the side of the stick, create those little grooves for the feathers. We've got to create a couple little grooves at the top of our comb. So grabbing your stick and using the side of your stick, you're going to push a couple times. I'm going to do 3. So I'm going to do 1, 2, not pushing too hard, nice and gentle. 3 little lines here at the top for my comb. And I'm going to grab just a little bit of water to smooth it out. We've got to attach this piece at the top of our chicken, all right, and using that same scratch and attach type process, that same scoring, you're going to grab your stick, and at the very bottom where we did the tap tap of the comb, you're going to be starting to put some lines. All right, guys, we've got that comb attached. Now just make sure that when you did it, you made sure to put those lines underneath the comb, but you also did some at the very top of the head as well. Remember, 2 parts for every time we do scoring. Take a quick look at this here. So we've got the comb attached to the top of the head. You can see the beak, the eyes, the wings, and then that beautiful comb at the top. It looks pretty good, and it's pretty solid on there because of the attachments. We're working towards the end of this crazy chicken that we're making together. We've got to throw some pupils in there. We need to make its beautiful eyes. As right now they're sort of blank, we want to create some nice little pupils that are a little bit 3D here for our silly chicken. Now what we're going to do is use those 2 little pieces that we pulled off the top of the comb piece. So these should be pretty quick. You're going to roll these up into 2 little balls. There we go. Don't forget that little drop of water in case they've been on your desk for a long time and they're starting to dry up. If they're a little bit different in size, it's not the end of the world. Again, this is not a perfect chicken. There we go. Perfect. We've got 2 little pupils we're going to be attaching now. Just make sure that these pupils have a flat side on the back. So they're nice and round right now in a 3D sphere shape, but we want to grab them really gently and give them a little tap tap at the bottom. There's 1, and tap tap, there's 2. All ready to go. Now you can attach them anywhere on that front surface of those eyes. Now make sure you do that scoring. You're going to do it on the back of the eye, or the pupil, and on the eye, wherever you want to do it. Make sure you take your time. I know these are small pieces, but these are the most likely to break if you don't take your time and do the scoring properly. Great job putting those pupils in. It's looking pretty funky. Take a look at that silly chicken. All right, looking pretty good. We've got the pupils attached in 2 different parts of the eyes. I made it a little bit silly. All right, we've got the nice beak, and we've got the wings, and of course that comb at the top. The last and final thing I want to do for you guys is you want to add just a little bit of details with your stick. So you can use your stick to sort of add a little bit of line in the beak if you would like to. Maybe a couple little feather lines if you want. It's totally up to you. This is the creative part for you to decide what you would like to do. All right, so I've got that line there on the beak all ready to go. I can do any other sort of designs that I desire if I want to put a couple little feather lines or anything like that. That part is totally up to you guys. And there you have it, guys. Your chicken's looking pretty cool. Now, you're going to want to wait about 48 hours for this to dry, just to make sure it's completely dry. And if you want, totally up to you, you can paint it. I've painted mine already, so mine looks a little bit like this. I've added some pretty fun colors and a little bit of shading to create sort of a 3D effect of this chicken. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today and making our silly chicken together. Now, please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen, and make sure to join us for some of our other projects that we're going to make together in the Art for Kids series. Thanks so much.
Here's what's on next time on Kids Arts Day every day. Watch for these other great projects. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you there.